Where Mio is different is that it's a single shared view of the chain, and it's working on the principles of trying to remove all of these silos of information across a chain and a transaction, whilst also benefiting from being able to consume external data from other third parties, even third-party professionals that can inform the chain. So you might have data coming in from surveyors that can inform the property and the chain that the survey's been booked or completed, or from search companies such as TM and CDS that the buyer have ordered their searches, or that the searches have been received. And of course, where you've got this data coming in, it means that there's less. It's starting to do some of the heavy lifting for the agent, because there's fewer phone calls that have to be made to sort of chase up and find out where things are going. So I guess it's technology that quite rightly is perhaps, disrupting the market, because we all recognize that things have to change and improve. So we're sort of disrupting the way in which sales progression is done, and sort of saying, do you know what? There is a much better way to do this, where agents that are intrinsically linked in a chain can sort of pull on the rope in the same direction to try and get a transaction through faster, and complete more sales.
Well, we should always be thinking of the end consumer, and certainly myself, and I know a lot of suppliers have been honest about it and said, look, it's obviously vital that we need to impress upon the agents themselves as our clients the benefits, and get them engaged. But actually, too often we forget about what is it doing for the consumer at the end of the very end of the transaction. And of course, if they're being satisfied, the people up the chain are going to be satisfied as well. So I think you see a lot of some of the best companies coming out now already thinking about that before. So I think you're right. I think that does make sense. So give us an idea then, John. What's the latest feature that you've added to the platform, and what's it going to be about?
So the latest feature that we released was we're starting to go down this route of kind of providing more kind of property-led information up front at sort of an earlier stage. So one of the kind of quick wins that we weaved into the platform at the end of last year, beginning of this year, were two features. One was to display the local authority search turnaround time across the chain. So if I'm an agent and I've taken on a property, I might be aware of what my local council's search turnaround time is, and it could be good or bad. But my seller might be moving out of area, and it gives me visibility that actually right across the chain, how the local authorities are performing, and whether that's potentially an early indicator of a pinch point and a delay in the whole process. So that's helpful. And then there's also the ability for the agent to actually order the local authority search at the very earliest stage. So we're seeing sort of more and more agents now in the market, as we've had conversations that led to us developing this, is that they're taking more control of the search ordering at the outset. Yeah. And in fact, some of them are even monetizing that process as well along the way. Because we do know that there is traditionally quite a big delay between the money being placed on account with the solicitor and the search is actually being ordered. And then when you add on to that, delays with local authorities, if they're, taking 30 days to turn a search round, it's quite a quick win to be able to shave several weeks off transaction time. And it also shows commitment to the seller at a very early stage, from the buyer's perspective, that they've got their ducks in a row, houses in order, they've got their mortgage in principle, the survey's been ordered, and great, the searches are underway as well. This person is committed to buying my home, and it's less likely. So less fall throughs and everything. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, I mean, this is all just, it all just makes, again, the logic is you can't argue with in terms of there, but it makes perfect sense. So ultimately, trying to do all these things, just be prepared from the very first moment, helps you ultimately turn your pipeline around more often, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, it is quite worrying for agents at the moment, because the pipeline turn that, you know, back in the good old days, you know, you might have been able to turn your pipeline between 4 and 5 times in a year.
Yeah.
You know, the current market conditions that they're operating in, you know, that's probably no more than 2.5, 3 times a year at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, and that has a big financial impact on an agent.
Cash flow is going to be clear there, isn't it? It's going to be,
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
So that's really, really interesting. And so again, you know, and a nice differentiator, isn't it? Being really, really clear with the clients about, you know, we're doing this so that there aren't those delays down there. At least just being seen as a forward-thinking agent is not the worst place to be in, is it?
It's about taking control of what is within your grasp to control, isn't it? And identifying where there are potential pinch points and delays, and being able to offer a solution to be able to sort of overcome those at an early stage. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, these searches are all accepted by all of the major high street lenders and so forth. You know, they've been accepted. You know, a personal local authority search has been accepted for over a decade now. You know, it's commonplace, and that is playing off our parent company, TM, their kind of heritage in that whole legal space with providing and ordering searches for over sort of 20 years. So it shouldn't be anything, you know, out of the ordinary for a solicitor who's perhaps receiving this search result from their buyer, and it's actually saving them the effort. But more importantly, it's reducing the timescale. That's one of the key, well, that is the key driver behind us developing that in the platform as an option for agents.
And that's against a background, obviously, of last year of obviously timescales going completely the other way, isn't it? So actually, anything you're able to do to mitigate that, you know, with tools like this, you know, has a double effect, really, doesn't it? Because that's the effect that most agents are going to be seeing with their own time to sell and everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. So any repick customer that's using the Foundations platform, they may have noticed in the App Store that there's the Mio logo, and it promotes the fact that an integration is coming soon. Soon is at the beginning of May this year.
Okay.
So the development work is underway already, and we're really excited about it, and we're already right now having lots of conversations with repeat customers and filling up our sort of pre-order book, because for a lot of them, a lot of people that have seen Mio previously, they all love it, Simon. They all love it. They all get it. They love the sort of user interface, if you like, the look and feel of the product. It's super easy. It comes with a training manual, but you don't need it because it's very intuitive to use. But I suppose the Achilles heel for us, for them, has always been that lack of integration. You know, agents don't like double keying, and I kind of get that. I don't think it should be the be all and end all, though, because equally we've got other agents that are using Mio very successfully with some very good results, and it's transforming the way in which they operate their sales progression and customer experience, and it's working really well for them. But I guess, you know, we're all different, and certainly the larger the agent with more branches and more data and more management information, you know, integration becomes more of a critical factor.
Yeah, do you know what it is, John? In all honesty, I've looked at this and wondered about this a few times myself, because I remember lots of suppliers that we used to introduce said, look, I'm only interested if it's got integration. I thought that's a bit of a brutal position to take. But you know what it is? It's almost like that turning the pipeline round, the point you were talking about before. If they go for standalone, you know, suppliers and everything else, they can probably, let's just say, go back to it, they can probably only introduce 4 a year reasonably into the business. Whereas Whereas if it's integrated and they're not adding in extra work for the teams and everything else, they can probably add 6, 7 or more in there. So that, I think, is why they know that ultimately these things are happening. And I think, yes, frustratingly, they will wait it out, won't they? The good news from you, though, is unless it's changed recently, repeat clients more than anyone else, I think, is probably unfair to the other CRMs, but repeat clients really value those efficiency wins, don't you? One of the things that they've gone for is a lot of the stuff that repeat does well is deliver for some quite large businesses efficiency gains that can be transformational in their businesses. And I'm guessing that's why you're having the good response you are from many of those at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's quite an investment on our part. We've spent quite a lot of time doing sort of detailed analysis and also going out and understanding from repeat customers what a good integration to them with Mio would look like and mean. So yeah, we're really excited about it. And our approach with all of this is, look, Mio is a sales progression tool. It's not a CRM, and it never will be. So when we're looking at managing this integration, it's the repeat record, which is by and large the master record that is informing Mio. But as soon as that agent moves the status to under offer, so they've agreed a buyer, they've been through the prerequisite steps in repeat to, plug in the information, generate, the MOS and move that status to under offer. It's at that point where all of the information required to create a detailed record in Mio just automatically gets passed across. Right. So there's no double keying for them at all. Yeah. And then it's sat there ready and waiting for them to just go straight in and plug it into a chain, unless perhaps it's already been done, and for them to start sales progressing inside Mio. They're gonna log into Mio because it will be their sales progression tool of choice. Yeah. But there's no restrictions on how many people in branch can have a login to Mio. Yeah. And then importantly, at the end of the transaction, when it gets to exchange and completed, all of the sales progression notes, a summary of all of those notes, will automatically get sent back to the repeat record for the agent's record keeping purposes. Right, so proper bi-directional integration, which is what everyone wants these days. It is, yeah, it is. But predominantly, it's data inbound from repeat because that's the master record. So it's very exciting, and from the conversations that we've had with members of our kind of user group, beta group, if you please, they've helped us to sort of shape the way in which we've architectured the way in which the integration should work. So we've had that feedback, and we're still very, the door's open. If there are any repeat customers out there that want to come and talk to me about getting involved in this sort of beta group early doors, then we'd welcome them. Well, we'll certainly share it. We've got quite a few on the Kerfuffle platform. Obviously, we'll share it out to those guys. That I'm sure there'll be a few of those who'd love to have a conversation. And how do they get more information anyway if they want to? Can they go back to the account managers at Repeat? What's the format for finding out a little bit more information at this stage? They probably could go to their account managers at Repeat, or they can get in contact with me directly. And if they want to have a quick demo of the platform, and then I can send them out a kind of FAQ document on how the integration will work as well. And if they jump on board early doors into the beta program, then they're also going to benefit from Mio being free for the remainder of the year. Lovely. Oh, I was going to say, a little sweetener there. You can't really get better than that, can you? In terms of price, so that's great. John, one of the things that sometimes happens, in products is that, and solutions, is that people miss some of the obvious stuff you do or everything else there. Is there a trick, I suppose, that agents are overlooking in your platform at the moment that actually can really deliver for them? Yeah, I think there is. And it's using Mio as a differentiator when they're out there doing market appraisals. And we've got anecdotal evidence from our customers that when they've weaved into that conversation with prospective sellers at a very early stage, about how what they're gonna do for that seller once they've found a buyer. Because let's face it, Simon, it's not difficult to find a buyer for a property at the moment. I mean, the average time to actually from market to sale is, I don't know, it's probably ridiculously quick. I mean, some stuff doesn't even get a chance to hit the portals and it's sold. So, finding a buyer, great. That's not the difficult bit. The hard yards are, well, how are you going to manage the process and how are you going to keep me updated? And, that's where most sellers probably don't have that type of conversation with the average agent when they have the beauty parade. And it stands out. It makes you stand out from the crowd, because you're offering a slightly different solution or enhancing your existing solution.
Yeah.
Because of course Mio comes armed with that consumer app, which is really, really helpful when it comes to communication.